Business news now. Sean Pellegrin is joining us. He's starting with the news today of the CEO of automaker Stellantis resigning from his position, Charles.
That's right. Carlos Tavares was the head of the world's fourth largest automaker, bringing together such brands as Fiat, Chrysler, Jeep, Peugeot, and Citroën. His resignation was announced by Stellantis' board on Sunday evening European time. He was expected to stay on until the end of his current contract in early 2026, but diverging views between him and the board about the management of the company made this untenable. This really underlines how divisive Tavares had become. The main issue, though, was that sales and profits at the company sharply declined this year, as well as the company's share price. And Tavares' single-track mindedness about containing costs and reducing margins had irked many people.
Yeah, what happened to the company's sales? I mean, why did they drop so dramatically, Sean?
So under Tavares' leadership, the company actually initially edged out its rivals like General Motors and Ford on the U.S. market during the pandemic, as low inventories caused by supply chain disruption favored sales for higher-end car models, which Stellantis produced. But Tavares conceded he should have changed tack in 2024, saying he'd been, quote, arrogant. This year, sales dramatically fell when consumers were less willing to pay for these same models, possibly hurt by years of inflation and high interest rates. All while Stellantis failed to launch enough new offerings. Its share price, as we saw just earlier, fell close to 40% in the last year. And global sales fell more than 27%, with sales and income in the U.S. dropping 36%, while they fell 17% in Europe and 26% in Africa and the Middle East. As you can see there, the poor performance in the U.S. underlined by American dealerships. One group of them wrote an open letter to Tavares in September, blaming him for disastrous choices in handling the U.S. market, notably its dated vehicle lineup, which bloated their inventories. A new CEO should be named sometime in the first half of 2025. Meanwhile, an interim executive committee will be led by the chairman of the group, John Elkann.
Can I come back to France for this next one? The French Prime Minister Michel Barnier facing the possibility that his government could be toppled in a no-confidence vote this week.
Barnier is seeking to push a budget through Parliament, but without enough votes, he's likely to fall back on an often used constitutional provision known as 49.3 to force its approval. That move, though, would automatically trigger a confidence vote on the government, with the left bloc of lawmakers already opposed to Barnier and President Macron's budget plan. The far-right National Rally is demanding big concessions, threatening to support a no-confidence vote and bring down Barnier. Brian Quinn has more on the sticking points in that budget.
A fiscal standoff set to deepen France's ongoing political crisis. Prime Minister Michel Barnier is racing to get a national budget for 2025 into place. With time running out, the far-right National Rally Party, led by Marine Le Pen, is demanding big concessions, ones Barnier appears unwilling to yield.
I'm not interested in ultimatums. With regard to the political forces of Parliament, the Senate, and the National Assembly, we're in a state of mind of respect and dialogue.
The top issue at hand this week is the country's social security budget. Barnier has proposed slowing the pace of public pension increases. Le Pen wants them indexed to inflation immediately. Measures to cut exemptions for social charges on businesses have also drawn her ire. Meanwhile, the government's plan to reduce reimbursements for certain medications has come under fire by both the far-right and the left-wing bloc of lawmakers. Barnier has agreed to scrap a hike on electricity taxes, but without the votes to pass his budget, he's likely to turn to the constitutional provision known as 49.3, which allows the government to force through spending bills. The 49.3, though, comes with a caveat. It automatically triggers a confidence vote in Parliament on the government, one on which the left has already vowed to vote no.
We have a prime minister who only talks to the far right, and now you come ask me why the vote of no confidence? It's simple, because I'm not from the far right.
If it doesn't get its way, the National Rally is threatening to join that no-confidence motion, meaning Barnier's government could be the shortest-lived in modern French history.
Stock markets then, Charles, what's the latest?
In Europe at the open, we're seeing stocks lower. Let's zero in on the CAC 40 in Paris. That index dragged down by political uncertainty, the banking sector particularly exposed, and Stellantis' shares on the CAC 40 down close to 6% at the open on the back of that news about their CEO.
And Charles is going to finish with a quick look at the box office.
This Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S. has set new records in terms of moviegoers, with Disney's Moana 2 bringing in $221 million in ticket sales, according to studio estimates. Its 5-day opening set beating the record held by Frozen 2, another Disney franchise, in 2019, which was at $125 million. The sequel to Moana also adding $165 million internationally. That's on top of that $221 million figure. So along with a musical Wicked and Gladiator 2, which came out earlier, those three films drove the overall box office to more than $400 million over Thanksgiving. Also a record, and some signifying that this could be the return of the movie theater business after that really tough time during the pandemic.
Charles, thank you very much. I know you've seen it 4 times already.